Welcome to the Nissan pregame rush. Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy and the College Football Playoff.
Temperatures in the mid-70s for this 104th Rose Bowl game. A sea of red. Oklahoma is officially crimson, just slightly darker. These programs have combined for almost 1,700 wins, 104 bowl games. Somehow they've never met until today. The spot in the championship game on the line. Georgia trying to go home to Atlanta for the game next Monday. Oklahoma trying to get back there, win it for the first time since 2000. The Sooners have won 23 of the last 24 games. Georgia, coming off the SEC championship, their first in a dozen years. Sooners slight underdogs in this game. And here they come. It's their first game in the state of California in a dozen years. 1,200 miles from home today. Georgia has traveled 2,000 miles, longer than all their other road trips this year combined. An experience today that none of these folks will ever forget. We hope we'll have an unforgettable show for you. These warm pictures here may help you thaw out if you're watching from a frigid part of the country. This has been the Nissan pregame rush. Captains on both sides ready for the coin toss. Baker Mayfield, and standing next to him is his blind side protector, big number 78, Orlando Brown. Defense represented by a couple of seniors, Stephen Parker, the safety, and their best pass rusher, Obo Okoronkwo. There's Sony Michel, part of that tandem Kirk talked about, number 1. And Roquan Smith, the Butkus Award winner. Nick Chubb out there as well, as is Isaiah Wynn. Jeff Easer on the ACC with the coin toss.
Congratulations on a successful season and your selection to the College Football Playoffs semifinal game. My name is Jeff Easer, and this is Jim Heisen. We're with the Atlantic Coast Conference. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce our distinguished guests. First, the president of the Tournament of Roses, Mr. Lance Tibbett. Next, the Grand Marshal of the Tournament of Roses Parade, Gary Sinise. Gentlemen, the coin, please. Thank you. The coin has both sides, each team's logo. Oklahoma University on one side, Georgia Bulldogs on the other side. The winner of the coin toss will be determined by whichever side is flipped forward on the ground face up. Here we go. Oklahoma, you won the toss. Oklahoma's won the toss and they've deferred. Georgia wants the ball. Which way you want to kick? Which way? This way? Face each other.
Sooners haven't had very good luck this season on coin tosses. They rarely have won them. They do this time and defer. Joined by Maria Taylor and Tom Rinaldi in the sidelines. Here's Maria with Kirby Smart.
Good afternoon, Chris. All right, Kirby, you said the biggest part of this game is managing anxiety and emotions. As the initial seconds tick off the clock, what will be an indicator your team's ready to go?
I don't think you can tell who's ready to go from the few seconds we've got left. I know both teams are prepared. It's been a long preparation. We're excited and ready to go.
All right, thanks for your time, Coach. Now we go over to the Oklahoma sideline with Tom Rinaldi.
Maria, we talked all week about Baker Mayfield and the flu and the cold that he's fought since the Sooners arrived here in Southern California. Speaking with him on the field during pregame warm-ups, he characterized his energy and his voice on a scale of 1 to 10 as a 12. The voice could be important. When you watch the Sooners play, you'll often see Mayfield go up and down the line to make checks and change plays. He'll need a full voice in order to do that. He let out a loud yell, Chris, as if to prove that he'd be more than capable. Something to keep an eye on as we see him typically get his group juiced, Chris.
It is, Tom. That was Riley's principal concern. Would his quarterback have full voice in his team's Kirk like he does?
He's fired up. Watching him in the pregame, the body language, he looks like Baker Mayfield. Lincoln Riley has got to be excited that that flu bug hit him as early as it did and gave him time to recover.
His fans were in full voice. Austin Seibert, the busy kicker for the Sooners. He handles the punting, place kicking, and kickoff duties. Got a very strong leg. Rarely allows a return. Elijah Holyfield is deep for Georgia, along with Mecole Hardman. Here we go, the playoff semifinal, Rose Bowl number 104. Seibert drives it deep. A touchback. And so we'll see Jake Fromm, who showed his poise and his talent as a Little League World Series star back at Williamsport.
12 years old, and one of those guys in the Little League World Series that just did it all. Made plays in the field, was a pitcher, hit home runs, and I think that poise early in his career as an athlete has really carried over throughout his high school career, and now, of course, in the early part of his career in Athens as a true freshman. His first career start in South Bend, night game, prime time under the lights, and of course got a win. And I think from there this team has really just fed off of his leadership.
The senior Nick Chubb is the tailback to the left of Fromm. They fake it to him, and Fromm throws on the first play, and it's complete. And off and running is Javon Wims, and the talented receiver out near midfield. These are Chick-fil-A impact players.
And the Chick-fil-A impact players, you got to start with the running game, but as Oklahoma's worried about Nick Chubb, it's Javon Wims, our other impact player. Okoronkwo is going to provide the pass rush, and Kenneth Murray, number 9 in the middle, another true freshman playing, has got to be physical against this run. We talked about Georgia having opportunities to throw with Oklahoma concerned of the run game.
Coming again on the second play. Ball comes out. It's ruled incomplete. That was in and out of the hands of Wims as Trey Norwood, the true freshman, was defending. Wims, a terrific blocker. He was shut out in the SEC championship game by Auburn in the Bulldogs win, but already on the board with 21 yards the first catch here.
Everybody, I think, looked at this matchup and thought, boy, the physicality, the running game of Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel against an Oklahoma defense. How are they going to match up with that? And I think Oklahoma got so tired of hearing about it. They're determined to load that line of scrimmage and force Jake Fromm to throw, especially in the early going, which I think Jake Fromm welcomes.
2nd and 10. Chubb's first carry into heavy traffic in the middle. The 225-pounder who's second only to Herschel Walker in terms of career yards in the SEC.
Look at the amount of bodies up into the line of scrimmage. I mean, here's Stephen Parker, who ends up making a play. He's a safety. You've got 8, close to 9 guys up at the line of scrimmage. That's what I talked about, is Oklahoma is determined to get extra bodies up there against this running game.
Georgia's been a pretty good third down team. They did struggle in the last game in Atlanta against Auburn. They need 7 here to keep the drive alive. Sonny Michel in the slot. Fromm has time, flips it over the head of the tight end, Charlie Warner. And here comes a punt.
Remember, a lot of pressure, long layoff, teams feeling each other out, a lot of excitement and emotion. That time Jake Fromm, that ball just sailed on him a bit.
Cameron Nizelek, the punter, who's a graduate transfer from Columbia University. Big upgrade in this area. Georgia's punting and kicking not strong a year ago, very strong this season. C.D. Lamb, a true freshman wide receiver, back deep at the Sooners' 10-yard line. Nizelek boots it right up and over the head of Lamb, and it's a touchback. So the Sooner defense gets a stop to open this game, and now the Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield, and the Sooners will take over for their first possession.
Baker Mayfield finally taking the field here after a 30-day layoff. You can see a chance to join Colt McCoy, is only the 2nd quarterback. A rival school is leading the nation in completion percentage at 71% coming into tonight. Yards per attempt, almost 12 yards. And the touchdown to interception there at the bottom, 41 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. It tells you the kind of decision making and the accuracy that Baker has played with this year.
He's seen it all. Can Georgia possibly confuse him today? It's a first down handoff and right into the teeth of that Bulldogs front. Jonathan Ledbetter got there in a hurry.
Well, what a great battle up front. I mentioned Oklahoma's offensive line. All 5 returned from last year. And this will be their most physical challenge that they have faced with Georgia in this front 3 that they play with, their defensive linemen.
Fake it to Anderson. Mayfield rolls out, flips it over the middle. And the catch is made by Dimitri Flowers, the H-back, with first down yardage to the 36. He is a weapon in this offense.
Yeah, he sure is. And that's where they like to get him. We showed that in the open, how he sneaks behind those linebackers off of play action. This is where Baker Mayfield can really crank it up.
If you make a first down, expect tempo. Play action across the middle. Flowers again, rumbling into Georgia territory. And in a place devoted to Flowers, Dimitri making an impact early.
Oklahoma is taking advantage of an aggressive Georgia defense. Coming downhill, great job of being on front of that with the play action pass.
Playing at warp speed, first down, another throw across the middle, and that's Mark Andrews, the tight end, who makes the catch at the 30, but there is a flag down where the offensive line was blocking.
Personal foul, hands to the face, defense, number 52, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, they get Tyler Clark, the defensive tackle. They'll tack that on to the gain.
Yeah, they write Oklahoma right now. This is who they are. They're the aggressor. See, it happens right here. Gets his hands up into the face. Samaya pushing him, and officials on top of that call.
So in 4 plays, the Sooners have moved into the red zone where they have been very, very efficient. But the Dogs' defense has been stout down here.
This is right here's their target, and they get down in this area.
It's Anderson in the flat, and Rodney Anderson knocked down after a very short gain. All these Sooner backs are very natural, gifted receivers.
Yeah, I think the versatility, the physicality of how they run, but the soft hands out of the backfield. And in Lincoln Riley's system, he demands that from his running backs. It's not just about running the ball. I think Dimitri Flowers is a great example of being so versatile. He can block, he can run, he can catch the ball. Keep in mind, Mark Andrews, again, there at the slot at the bottom, is a dangerous weapon and a tough matchup down in this area.
2nd and 8. Play action, flip to the end zone, touchdown! The Sooners strike quickly. Marquise Hollywood Brown. I think the quarterback looks fully energized and razor sharp. 4 for 4 on an 80-yard touchdown drive.
It's exactly how Baker Mayfield and Oklahoma wanted to start the game. Defense gets Georgia off the field. The Sooners get the ball and go right down the field and put it on the board.
Seibert adds the conversion. Wow, what a start.
Yeah, a little bit of a miscommunication. Watch out, he doesn't reroute him to the right. Nobody puts his hands on Brown. Nothing at all to slow him down. The corner, Baker, didn't do anything. Watch out, he doesn't get his hands on him. Makes it easy to be able to get behind him. The safety's late in coming over, and Baker puts it right on the money for the touchdown.
And it's hooray for Hollywood as the Sooners strike quickly.
The Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual is brought to you by AT&T, the all-new Accord from Honda, and Taco Bell, where you can experience the power of the dollar.
Gary Sinise, the parade Grand Marshal, does tremendous charity work for veterans, particularly wounded warriors. The Grand Marshal, this parade watched around the globe. Meanwhile, here in the Rose Bowl game, Oklahoma has scored an opening touchdown for the 8th time this season, moving it right down the field. 6 plays, 80 yards. Mayfield to Brown. Who will the Bulldogs and young Jake Fromm answer? Seibert, another deep driving boot out of the end zone. Kirk, today's planning for success brought to you by Northwestern Mutual.
Georgia's plan tonight, we got to keep being able to put this Oklahoma defense, keep them honest with Jake Fromm's arm, keep staying balanced. And defensively, they got to get Baker Mayfield into some obvious passing situations. For Oklahoma, it's a balanced attack, as you'll see that play out. So far, they're really throwing the football. And then defensively, which they did a very good job of, matching the physicality at the line of scrimmage against the Georgia running game.
Fromm had a completion, a drop, and an overthrow on his first possession. Chubb on the toss into traffic. They get a good block on the edge, and Chubb churning for a first down, running through tackles out near midfield. Big Isaiah Wynn, the tackle, sprung him.
Boy, what a great block on the outside. Watch that physicality by Miles McKinney right there, opened up the edge. They want to get the ball on the perimeter. And that was a couple great blocks on the edge there that were able to spring Nick Chubb loose.
25-yard chunk for the senior. A timeless play, the Georgia toss sweep, isn't it? Chubb's got it again, this time flying up with Stephen Parker, the safety, to meet him after a 1-yard gain.
And I don't think Mike Stoops, the defensive coordinator from Oklahoma, I mean, you talked earlier about how this is a team that starts to they find a way to get a chip on their shoulder no matter who they're playing. And I think doing a lot of interviews and being asked a lot about how do you match up with that physicality, I think Mike Stoops has his defense really buying into taking away that running game and trying to match up front.
First carry for Sony Michel, who cuts it back in the clear. Michel barrels down inside the Oklahoma 30, and already this Georgia tandem flexing.
They're doing a good job of these receivers being able to get blocks on the outside. Watch the timing with Michel here. Just finds the crease, and look at downfield blocking there by 5. Godwin will not let the young corner Trey Norwood off of him. And this is what I'm talking about with Chubb, more physical, and then you deal with Michel, different change of pace and a much different kind of acceleration.
He's still pretty physical, though, isn't he, Sony? Closing in on 1,000 yards. They fake it to him, and now Fromm, a first down throw. Again, it's high, this time brought in by the tight end Charlie Warner, the sophomore, with his 7th catch of the season. Caleb Kelly tackled him.
Doing a good job of giving him time to throw. I think, again, early down play action pass. Look at Jake Fromm. Think about being a young, true freshman quarterback. He's played with tremendous poise all year long. Being a good complement to that running game. Still, I think, settling in here to find his rhythm throwing the ball.
They fake it to Michel. Fromm, look downfield, now checks down, delivers a strike, complete for a first down to Wims inside the 15. So Wims, the senior from Miami, who grew up mainly a basketball player, making a big impact here already.
And another good job of using the play action, getting the linebackers up. And when you get the linebackers up, it makes it easier to be able to throw the ball behind them. You see Beal, 14, trying to get back into position. But I'll be honest, I think Fromm was even late, but because the linebackers were up front at the line of scrimmage, he's still able to squeeze it in there.
Take it to Michel again. Fromm looked over the middle, now dumps it down, caught, touchdown, Michel out of the backfield, and the Dogs answer quickly. Running to set up the pass.
Great job of mixing up the plays on that drive by Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator. You saw some running from Chubb and Michel, and you saw the danger of the play action pass off of it.
Rodrigo Blankenship, kicker awarded a scholarship the day before, kicked the game winner at Notre Dame, on for the conversion. So the Sooners, a 6-play touchdown drive. The Dogs answer with one of their own.
Yeah, the play action. Kenneth Murray right here comes up, gets a little bit lost, and by the time he realizes that he has to account for Sony Michel, it's too late. He slides out of the backfield, does a good job on his play fake. See the late reaction, and again, a great job by Chaney of mixing up the play calling on that drive.
Michel's first touchdown reception of the season, even at 7. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, official sponsor of the Rose Bowl game, committed to honoring blimp-worthy athletes who demonstrate hard work on and off the field. Pair of 6-play touchdown drives and 2 13-yard touchdown passes, and we are even. Good start here in Pasadena, the first of 2 playoff semifinal games on New Year's Day. Marcellus Sutton deep for the Sooners. Blankenship to boot it away with that trademark black eyeglasses. He's worked hard in his distance on kickoffs this season, and that's a touchback. Now, Jake Fromm got his chance, Kirk, when the starter Jacob Eason injured his knee in the third series of the season. You mentioned the Notre Dame game. He handled his business well, and he was just playing too well for Eason to get the job back when he returned from the injury.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about the belief the coaches had in him, and he continued to play well. The team, I think, gelled around him, started to believe that he could make plays, and they became a dangerous team. The one setback at Auburn, then they go to Atlanta a few weeks later and avenge that with a win in the championship.
Baker's numbers are just silly. More than 15,000 total yards coming in between his brief career at Texas Tech and his years in Norman.
What a brilliant career that he's had as the quarterback for the team that he grew up loving and dreaming to play for, the Oklahoma Sooners.
Two-time walk-on to Heisman Trophy winner. 4 for 4 in the Sooners' opening drive. Slinging out of the backfield. And this is the very fleet Marquise Brown around the edge. Picks up about 9, driven out by Dominic Sanders, the veteran safety.
Kind of an extension of their running game. You know, you see a lot of the jet sweep a lot around college football, but with Oklahoma, not only are they going to hand it to him, if you're not going to respect it, and you leave a guy like Brown out in the flat who's got a little bit of space, they're going to flip it out there and pick up 9 yards.
Second and short. Rodney Anderson had to dodge a tackler in the backfield and does earn first down yardage to the 37.
It really is going to be a good battle up front. I mentioned how I know Oklahoma's played Ohio State and that great defensive line the Buckeyes have. Just the scheme itself. They play 3-4, and those 3 down linemen are stout up front.
3 backs in the backfield, and now Baker with his first downfield shot looked it over the head of his receiver. DeAndre Baker was covering Brown. He is a physical big corner, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's a guy that welcomes the challenge from this offense. See, he does a good job at getting ahead of Brown, respecting his speed, and then he pushes him towards the sideline. He was in phase the entire time. Here's Kirby trying to make sure Baker knows the ball's coming down there to try to help him out, going back to his defensive back days. But good position that time by Baker, no foul.
All SEC defensive back, led the conference in interceptions senior year at Georgia. Second and 10. Baker just turns and looks at Anderson. There was some kind of deception there. Anderson off and running a stiff arm into Georgia territory, and Rodney Anderson rumbles down in the red zone. A huge game with a funky start to it.
Yeah, funky start. Watch the block by the big fella Brown. He takes out one guy, he takes out another guy, and I'll tell you, Rodney Anderson is just slippery. Physical runner at 220 pounds.
He got 45 yards. He's got it again. Makes a cut. Barrels down inside the 10. So Baker turned was right, but then took the ball in his left hand and just handed it off to the back.
That's exactly right. Just kind of remember, this Georgia defense they're keyed in on 6. Whatever he can do to try to get them off balance.
Playing at warp speed. Anderson again barrels into the end zone. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns for OU. This is a defense, Kirk, that allowed an average of 13 a game. OU's got 14 in 2 possessions.
And they've had 2 drives of 6 plays that have resulted in touchdowns. So much for Baker Mayfield and the flu bug.
A 45-yard run by Anderson that set up his touchdown, the longest rushing play the Dogs have allowed this season. This is why the Georgia Defensive Brain Trust and Kirby Smart were so concerned.
Watch the left guard, Chris, Ben Powers. Watch how he comes down, initially down on the nose guard, then climbs up to the All-American Roquan Smith. By getting up to Roquan Smith, you let Rodney Anderson, with his physicality himself to run downhill, he's going to run right through that secondary for a touchdown.
And the head coach and the play caller says, we could not have dreamt up a better start to this Rose Bowl.
when you have a veteran offensive line and a 3-year starting quarterback, watch how Baker Mayfield looks over and tries to get a reaction from his head coach, Lincoln Riley. He gives him the thumbs up, keep it on. And that was that big run by Rodney Anderson. Chris referenced how he kind of looked it off and then picked up over 40 yards. And then this is what you have to do with an all-American middle linebacker. Give him a lot to look at, and it allows the offensive lineman to get up to him before he can attack downhill into your running game.
Smith, the Butkus Award winner, was just eaten up by 310-pound guard Ben Powers that time. A scary good start for this Oklahoma offense. Seibert has been busy already, and for the third time just drives a line drive kick through the end zone. So time for Jake Fromm to answer again. We talked about his poise. I think he loves the outdoors as much as he loves football. He's a big fisherman, hunter, loves to hunt birds. And he posts a lot of this stuff on Instagram, so he shares his love of the outdoors.
Wow, look at the shoulders on that bass. That was a big fish. I would say that the last drive was 3 runs and then 3 passes. First 3 plays were runs, and then it set up their play action. I think the mix is going to be very, very important for Georgia throughout this entire game.
Jim Chaney, the veteran of 32 years coaching, calling the plays for the Bulldogs. He says that his quarterback here from more advanced than Drew Brees was at this stage of his Purdue career. Chubb cuts it back in a strong gain. First down yardage across the 35 before Parnell Motley wrestled him down.
See, this is what is really hard when you defend Georgia. All the action is going this way, but watch what happens. Right here, now he's going to cut back. And that's the thing that Georgia's done such a good job of, and it keeps you honest on the backside.
Chubb again, tries the left, and cuts it back. How do you like the matchup of Georgia's offensive line so improved this year against the Sooner front?
Well, I think on paper it's a mismatch. I think Georgia has a group that collectively understands each other, understands this offense, and takes pride in being a kind of that physical offensive line with great backs behind them. And I think Oklahoma today, they're taking this challenge to try to meet them at that line of scrimmage and show they can play with the big guy.
DeAndre Swift, and the jet sweep takes a handoff, and the Sooners were ready that time. That was Will Johnson, the safety, who dropped to the very swift true freshman.
You know how it is in college football when a group collectively gets doubted. They have a tendency to rise up to the occasion. That night we were in Columbus when they played Ohio State. There was a lot of that doubting of Oklahoma, and defensively they really feed off of that. That's the approach that I think they took for this game. We'll see if it works out for them.
Did pretty well against Auburn, bowl game, Tennessee a couple of games. We love the challenge of a physical SEC offense. Michelle and Swift in the game. Fromm from the pocket has good protection and flips off a completion for a first down into Oklahoma territory to Warner. The young tight end has been busy early.
And it's a first down here, a play that you look at and you think, okay, hey, anybody could have made that throw. But if you're Georgia and you're a Georgia fan, you want to see this offense convert on third down. Big factor today is Georgia converting not only to be able to keep the ball and keep the drives alive, but it keeps Baker Mayfield and that offense that has scored in 2 drives, both times in 6 plays, keeps him on the sideline.
Play action. Fromm, again, good protection, flips it off underneath, and it's Charlie Warner again, his uncle Scott, and a Hall of Famer for Georgia, a defensive back, and only 6 catches coming in, but already a few today.
I think he's probably athletically one of the more gifted tight ends. I know Nauta gets a lot of recognition, but Warner, for a young guy at 6'5", 250, can do a lot of things. He can block and he can also catch. I thought Jake Fromm, again, play action on 1st and 10. Keep those linebackers guessing, run versus pass, catching them out of position and picking up a first down.
And Chaney calling plays that lead to very short, comfortable throws for his quarterback. Checks it down again and dumps it short. And there's a catch made down inside of the 30-yard line.
He is now 4 of 5 on first down throws for 45 yards. I'm telling you, that is going to be a big theme tonight until Oklahoma backs up, until they start to respect his ability to throw. I don't blame Jim Chaney at all. I think that's have more of an advantage throwing on 1st and 10, and you can see all the time he has, than waiting till third down.
It's Tyler Simmons, who wears a couple of different jerseys, wearing 87 that time. They'll come and measure to see if that was first down yardage. just about a few inches away on second down now. Dogs don't typically get in a lot of shootouts, but this one has developed in the first quarter.
Kirby's
look at him over there. He's
I mean,
sweating it, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's happy that Jake Fromm and the offense have maybe found some answers and they're coming back, but he is still trying to talk to that defense. Guys, first 2 times, okay, this is what they're doing. You got to try to make some adjustments and just settle in. Get a stop. Get some confidence on that side of the ball.
This Georgia offense looks plenty confident. It's Chubb behind the physical fullback Christian Payne. See if they take a shot, needing just a few inches here on second down. Yep, they misfire. And they'll make it 2nd and 5 now.
Yeah, Baker, the left guard.
Ball start, offense, number 65, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
The junior out of Atlanta has improved a lot this year. Plays hard, but a little over-eager that time.
Yeah, Jim Chaney telling us last night, of all of the guys up front, that Baker's probably improved the most. It was one of their bigger question marks when they moved Isaiah Wynn out to left tackle.
This Chaney, who also is the quarterback coach. Arkansas, Tennessee, most recently Pittsburgh.
Purdue, as you said earlier, with Drew Brees and Kyle Orton.
Chubb in the ball game. They flip it near side. And this is Terry Godwin who makes his first catch, driven out right at the line of scrimmage by Parnell Motley. Is only 175, but played physical that time.
That's a run-pass option that's been a bigger part of this offense, and that gives the quarterback a decision to make. If you want to run it, you run it. And if not, if you think you can get the ball to the outside, flip it out there. Goes back to his baseball days, like a sidearm, just a quick pitch out there to try to give you a better chance, but Oklahoma defends it pretty well. Tougher to do RPOs into the boundary where there's not as much room to run.
Dogs need 5 on 3rd down. They're in fringe field goal range for Blankenship at the moment.
Here's the best pass rusher for the Sooners, Okoronkwo.
They haven't pressured Fromm yet. This time he backpedals. They effect the throw. Flips it to Michelle, but the Sooners are all over the running back there. Motley made the tackle short of 1st down yardage.
There, we show you before the snap, Okoronkwo. He actually fights through 2 offensive linemen. Great suddenness. An SEC type of defensive end. He gets through 2 offensive linemen, Cleveland and Andrew Thomas, a true freshman. And he didn't get to him for the sack, but he forces him to have to throw the ball earlier than he wanted to and allows the defense to rally to the ball.
So here comes Rodrigo Blankenship, nickname of Hot Rod since he was a child. This is just a yard short of his career long. This from 48. Drives it, but it drifts and misses wide left. So the Dogs' 8-play, 44-yard drive comes up empty.
He just hooked it. Looked like he hit it clean. See the snap hole, everything's perfect. End over end, he just pulled it.
Now that's just the 3rd miss of the season from Blankenship. And every time the Sooners defense can get off the field without allowing points, Lincoln Riley feels good because Baker Mayfield and the offense clicking so far.
And the way they're executing, you do not want to get behind and have to play catch up to Baker Mayfield. See how frustrated he is. Need to go back to that false start. 2nd and 1, maybe inches. And they had the false start that set them back after Kendall Baker.
That's a great point. That stopped momentum, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did.
And now Baker back to work. 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns. The 1st down throw. Anderson well guarded out of the flat, and he is going to be dropped for a 3-yard loss.
I think the adjustment defensively for Kirby Smart and Mel Tucker, I don't think it's a huge change in your scheme. I think it's about eye discipline, not looking back at Baker Mayfield, doing your job, and then tackling in the open field.
Option pitch, Jeff Badette, a graduate transfer from Kentucky who's very familiar with this Georgia team from his days in Lexington, takes the pitch, and nice game.
They keep you guessing. I think that's what makes this offense so versatile. A lot of formations, they're balanced, they run inside, quick throws off those run-pass options. They throw the deep ball, they just spread you all over the place. Makes it very, very difficult to dissect for a defense. So much to see.
Final minute of the first quarter, and Georgia finally able to force Oklahoma into its first third down play of the game. Sooners need 3.
Man to man.
Mayfield looks left, delivers a strike, and that's Brown beating man coverage out near midfield. CeeDee Lamb, check it, the true freshman with his first catch.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb is a guy that I think has a chance to have a big game today. He's a true freshman. Put a lot of weight on since he's been at school. Good job with that move to the sets it up with an outside move. Gives him room to go back to the inside against McGee. You know, he had a big game against Oklahoma State, but after that just kind of faded off. Dealt with some injuries, kept battling through and playing, but not as productive. This 30-day layoff has really helped him get in a better position. And again, he's a tough matchup for this Georgia secondary.
He had a separated shoulder, but he's back 100%. End of an electric first quarter at the Rose Bowl. Sooners marching, trying to add to a 7-point lead. Back after these messages. You're watching the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual on ESPN. Set for the second quarter, college football playoff semifinal at the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual. Let's hear from both sidelines. First to Maria Taylor. Maria, what do you got on the Georgia side?
Chris, right now the concern for the defense is communication, getting the calls in time for everyone to be in position. Defensive line coach Trey Scott says they're killing us on second and medium. We can't even substitute right now, and we can't get in position to strike. Now over to Oklahoma, or Tom Rinaldi on Oklahoma's sideline.
Maria, we've seen the signature passion and swagger from Baker Mayfield. There has been no reduction. At one point on the sideline, looked over and said, you might want to tell them over there good luck. At another point, he looked at Lee Corso, gave a huge smile. The pretender sign, we know all about it, Chris.
3 more quarters to go, though, Tom. Baker begins the second quarter with play action, and it's Andrews the tight end. A tough matchup for Lorenzo Carter, the linebacker. It's 11 yards and a first down.
And a really good route. All the momentum of that play action, everything moving right. And Andrews himself actually running, moving from the left side of that offensive line to the right with Baker Mayfield, only to put the brakes on and go back the other way. And a very tough play there for Lorenzo Carter to try to stay with him.
Andrews, winner of the John Mackey Award, is the nation's top tight end. 58 catches on the season. Mayfield, 7 for 8 start. 83 yards and a touchdown. Dogs crowd the line. This is Anderson, who breaks free. Rodney Anderson in the clear, headed for the end zone. Yards. You said it, Kirk. This offense about a lot more than number 6.
The balance has been there all year, and Baker Mayfield gets most of the attention. But as I said, when you talked about it throughout this broadcast, it's about being balanced and being able to run the football. Already over 100 yards rushing for this team, and when you can run the ball, it makes the play action and Baker Mayfield go. And he's right. Maybe he is right. You might want to tell them that they need some help because it's tough to defend them when they can run the ball.
Seibert still perfect for PATs. 3 possessions. They've scored 3 times.
Look at these linemen get up to that second level. I mean, you're letting him, and of course a great block by CeeDee Lamb. But when you're letting these linemen, Eric Wren the center, Ben Powers on that left side, Orlando Brown, they're putting a hat on a hat, and there's all that space, and CeeDee Lamb picks up Aaron Davis. There's nobody left.
They've run 17 plays. Sooners have gained 209 yards in a quarter and a minute.
Happy New Year, everyone. Dick Enberg, and I'm privileged to be here. My first Rose Bowl game.
1:38 left. White.
The legend, our friend and colleague Dick Enberg, very much on our minds today. He loved the Rose Bowl as much as anything he was involved in his legendary 6-decade career. He called 9 of these Rose Bowl games for NBC with Merlin Olsen in the 80s. His very favorite one was his very first. When USC upset number 1 Ohio State. Charles White was the hero that day. Seibert to boot it away again as the Dogs find themselves a couple touchdowns behind. And I know, Kirk, for you, coming of age in the Midwest, watching this game every year, Dick Enberg's calls were important.
when you grow up in the Midwest, the Rose Bowl is iconic. And being of that age, my first memory, I was about 10 years old, of the Rose Bowl was at Rose Bowl. Ohio State and USC, Charles White, Art Schleischer on the other side, and Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen. And I watched every single year, every play of the Rose Bowl. And his voice, as much as I love Keith Jackson, Dick Enberg for me is synonymous of this game and in the memories that I have of it.
He felt it as well as anyone, and that came through, that smile in his voice. And as Dick would say, oh my, what a start for the Sooners offense and Baker Mayfield. From Georgia back to work, and Sony Michel breaks free. Michel in the clear, a foot race. What an answer from Georgia. 75 yards. Down early, but still very explosive. You see the electricity that Sony Michel can provide.
Wow. Talking about needing an answer. That's exactly what they got.
Second touchdown for Michel, who caught his first touchdown reception earlier. Longest run of the season for the Dogs. It puts him over 1,000 yards for the season.
Chris, what a mistake here by the freshman Kenneth Murray. He's in the middle. You're going to see motion. Watch his reaction. He takes himself right out of the play. You have a defensive back responding, also the linebacker. There's nobody left. Great job by the right side of that offensive line. Thomas and Cleveland, they collapsed down. But what made it so much easier is that Kenneth Murray saw that jet action. Watch how he reacts to that. Two defenders at corner, Trey Norwood, the middle linebacker, Kenneth Murray, both go with him. They bust, and by that bust, it creates a huge space. All that was left there was the defensive lineman, who Sony Michel easily shakes, and then a poor angle there by Will Johnson. There's the speed from Sony Michel.
Young number 91, Dylan Famatsu. That was a mismatch in space with Sony.
Yeah.
So Georgia not behind by 2 touchdowns for long. A one-play touchdown drive. And Michel and Chubb, the roommates, best friends, bowling buddies, both making an impact already today.
Well, the last thing you can do against Baker Mayfield when he's off to this kind of start is get too far behind. So that, we were talking at the break, how important it would be for Georgia to answer, only to do it there in just one play.
Blankenship boots it high, but Depp will let it bounce in the end zone. Well, after this developing classic concludes in Pasadena, it's off to New Orleans, the second college football playoff semifinal. Alabama, the number 4 seed, and the defending champs, top seeds Clemson, square off in the All-State Sugar Bowl in the Superdome. Your take on that game, Mr. Herbstreit? You're allowed to make a pick on that game.
Yeah, sure. I picked Clemson in a close one. I think Kelly Bryant can make a play or two late in that game with his arm to be able to win that football game. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. How about Georgia? 7 games this year, they didn't allow 116 yards rushing in 7 games. We're just starting the second quarter, and they've already allowed 116 yards against this Oklahoma offense.
Yeah, tremendous balance from the Sooners' attack so far. Only had to convert 1 third down on their 3 touchdown drives. Mayfield looks downfield, now fires over the middle. Andrews, the tight end, goes up and makes a leaping catch into Georgia territory. He was wide open.
Watch the eyes of Baker Mayfield move the linebacker right here. See his eyes looking to the left, moves the linebacker, and then goes right over top of Reggie Carter. I'm telling you, Baker Mayfield is a master of being comfortable in the pocket, moving safeties and linebackers, and then knowing that he's going to come back and make the throw, and he puts it up high where Mark Andrews, the big tight end, can go up and make a play.
Third catch for the leading receiver in this Oklahoma team. 29 yards that time. Left side for Anderson. Some Pre-snap action there drew some Georgia eyes.
Chris, this is what we're talking about. Look at the eyes of Baker Mayfield. He's looking left. You're thinking, all right, he's about, and then he even kind of winds up like he's going to make a throw. The entire time, he's trying to create space back over the middle. So that's what Georgia's dealing with, is a confident quarterback, a quarterback in command, and right now has this Georgia defense on its heels in this first half.
And scratching their heads on the Georgia sideline. Dimitri Flowers joining Anderson in the backfield. Now he motions out. And Baker gives it off to Rodney, who bounces it to the edge and is wrestled down physically just inside the 40 by Lorenzo Carter. Here comes a third down play.
Yeah, it's only the second third down of the game for Oklahoma. I mean, they've been moving the ball up and down the field. They're 1 for 1 on third down.
Anderson still down on the field, Kirk, after that tackle from Carter, who's a strong dude, a 240-pounder. Let's take another look at the tackle.
Well, I think it's all the weight that came down on him. It wasn't just Carter. Watch Jonathan Ledbetter, 13. He's a big guy, too, 285 pounds. He comes in there as well. It's a lot of manpower coming down on top of Rodney Anderson.
More than 500 pounds, too.
And they came down with some force.
So as they attend to him on the sidelines, Trey Sermon, the true freshman from Marietta, Georgia, one of 2 guys who played high school football in Georgia on this Oklahoma team. But the obvious concern for one of the early stars of this game and one of the stars for the Sooners all season long. We'll take a timeout.
The Rose Bowl game, presented by Northwestern Mutual, is brought to you by Gatorade Thirst Quencher, the proven sports fuel. IBM, you powered by data, knowledge, insight. That's you to the power of IBM. NISA, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy. And the Capital One Venture Card. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day.
Hug at 10, helping the Dogs. Defense can hunker down here on third down. 4-year-old traveled out in style on the Trustees charter plane. This is the farthest they've ever been from home, for sure. So Trey Sermon, number 4, is in the game, as is Andrews in the backfield along with Flowers, and Baker Mayfield keeps it. Quarterback keeper around the right end. Terrific design on the play. Easy first down inside the 30.
Diamond formation. You see Flowers and the big tight end Mark Andrews. They're just going to lead their way, try to seal the edge, fake in here, and then you get him to the outside. This defense is so worried about the running backs. Scouting report tells you that Baker Mayfield, even though he's athletic, doesn't run the ball all that much. They save him for key moments just like that on third down.
Play action. Mayfield still got it. Takes a shot over the middle. Jump ball incomplete. Forced it into double coverage. DeAndre Baker was covering Lamb.
I think that's a little mix up there by CeeDee Lamb. The angle that he took on the post, he cut that a little bit short. I think he should have tried to keep it a little skinnier. That's the way Baker Mayfield tried to throw that away from the defender over top of Dominique Sanders. And Lamb was cutting that a little bit more too far across the middle of the field. Needed to try to stay a little straighter upfield.
Just the second incompletion so far from Mayfield.
Dimitri Flowers up to the top on the left there in the slot.
Mayfield looked that way. Now fires in the seam off the hands of the receiver Lamb. That one should have been caught inside the 10.
Now they continue to work the middle of this defense. Lamb, I just talked about how he took a poor angle. Now this time they come right back to him. Very talented, a future superstar, a true freshman. The ball is a little bit behind, but still hits both his hands, and a ball that he should be able to catch. Brace himself for the hit and get the first down.
Sooners 2 for 2 on third down. This is the first third and long, though. They need 10. Empty backfield, Sermon. And now they motion Brown. Fake it to him, flip it short. Badette in traffic. It's Lamb. Check it down to the 15-yard line.
They're just one step ahead of Georgia. Roquan Smith comes on the blitz. They bring everybody. They take a chance. And what it does is it allows the offensive lineman, watch this blitz right here, but watch the lineman get downfield. They allow him to come through. Looks like Baker's in trouble. Then he dumps it down, senses it, and then Lamb has a convoy in front of him, and they pick up the first down. Great job by Lincoln Riley on the call.
14 on 3rd and 10. Haven't seen Roquan Smith make a real impact play yet. And they hand it off to Sermon. And that Georgia native squirms for about 3.
A bit of a high snap. Baker Mayfield does a good job of not only being able to get the snap, but getting the hand.
You like
off.
this young back, don't you?
Yeah, I think I think Rodney Anderson's really special. But I don't think you lose a lot when Trey Sermon comes into the game. Catches the ball out of the backfield, physical at about 225 pounds.
Anderson, we're told, just had the wind knocked out of him in that big tackle, so we would expect to see him return, but it's still Sermon in the game.
Tough guy.
Sanders back in the red zone one more time. Mayfield across the middle in traffic. This time the catch is made by CeeDee Lamb. They go back to him a 3rd time, and they got a 1st and goal. Nope. Now they're saying it's incomplete. Did not hold the ball long enough.
Boy, Baker Mayfield, you talk about trying to squeeze it into a tight window, and he keeps going back to number 9. This entire drive, it's been Baker Mayfield looking for CeeDee Lamb. Good effort there. I think Aaron Davis, by not giving up on that play, I think his right hand got in there. I think he pulled that ball out of there away from Lamb. Great play by Davis, who Mel Tucker calls the most valuable player maybe on this defense because he plays so many spots.
It's a tough series for the freshman wide receiver, and it sets up a 3rd and 7. Mayfield trapped, sacked for the first time. Tyler Clark, the sophomore defensive tackle, 3rd sack of the season.
Well, this whole month they've talked about not trying to get upfield against the athletic and mobile Baker Mayfield, but collapse the pocket, which means the defensive ends have got to get upfield, and then they need to push from up the middle, and Tyler Clark, the sophomore that time, is able to provide that and comes up with a big sack.
Seibert very reliable inside 40, 11 of 12 this season, this from 38. And no problem for the junior. So Oklahoma kept out of the end zone for the first time, but go back up double digits. The Georgia football team in 1942 left Athens and 4 days later arrived here in Pasadena to play in the Rose Bowl New Year's Day 43, where they shut out the UCLA Bruins. They blocked a punt for a safety, and then Frank Sinkwich scored the only touchdown of the game, the Heisman Trophy winner. They tried to pull the goalpost down. Charlie Trippi was named MVP of the game retroactively. Charlie, we expect, watching this Rose Bowl back in the state of Georgia. We send him New Year's Day wishes. Only previous trip for Georgia in the Rose Bowl. That's changed since 1943. A 4-day journey from Georgia on a train, huh?
I love seeing that old footage of these games that have been played here.
The trip home is better after a win.
Yeah.
Just the first kickoff opportunity for Mecole Hardman. Brings it out, slips a tackle, still going. Hardman, a dangerous returner out at the 35. A flag does come down late in the return. You don't want to give him too many chances, and Seibert's been able to knock the first kickoffs through the end zone. That time, number 4 had a chance.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Receiving team, number 24. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Go back and look at that 3rd down by Georgia's defense. Remember, they're trying to do a better job. There's Kirby Smart trying to make the check, make sure everybody's on the same page, trying to move Tyreek McGee over to make sure he's got Michael Jones, and then it's just rushing 4. Something very important to remember, they did not blitz there. They rushed 4, got the ends upfield, and then the inside guys, Tyler Clark and Jonathan Ledbetter, did a good job of getting the push.
Smart's defense finally able to get a sack and force a field goal. So Fromm and company back to work down 10 from the 20. They fake it to Chubb, flip it near side here. Catch made by Wims, and he slips free. First down across the 30. Rangy receiver who played his high school football in Jacksonville, making a big impact here already.
178 yards out of 229 so far for Georgia have come on first down. So they're doing a really good job of being aggressive. We talked about how they're going to throw on 1st and 10, kind of break some tendencies. It's really worked out well so far for Jim Chaney.
Chubb, Swift, and Harrion in the game. This is Swift on the end around. Gain of about 3.
Right, so far, even with that success from throwing the football from Fromm, who is 10 of 12 for 91 yards here so far in this game with a touchdown, Oklahoma's not coming out of that aggressive look. They're still, especially on the earlier downs, still loading up that line of scrimmage, respecting that running game.
Fromm from the pocket throws far side, and that breaks the string of 9 consecutive completions intended for Riley Ridley. Not a Georgia team, Kirk, that's used to being behind. They've only played 1 close game this season. That was against Notre Dame, so no panic from this group. But there's some urgency when you face an offense as good as Oklahoma's, isn't there?
Well, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they had some testing games against Auburn, obviously. But this is a team that I think has belief in who they are and the system that they have. But as I talked about with Baker Mayfield, it's like giving somebody a head start in a 100-meter race. You don't want to give them too big of a lead. Right now, they're already up 10.
Sooners don't rush. Only a 3-man rush on 3rd down, and it's incomplete. That was not an accurate throw. It was behind Michelle, and it's 4th down.
Well, Michelle kind of looked over his shoulder, looking over to look at the defense as he goes on his route here, and you can see him kind of look over to make sure just to where that defense is. He starts to slide and move to the outside, and he just happened to move at the wrong time, right as Jake Fromm was throwing it, where he was set up to catch that football.
Cameron Nislek on the punt. CeeDee Lamb standing at the Sooners 25. Nislek has an econ degree from Columbia. Did not pay enough attention to the play clock there. Wound down.
Play game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
Nislek, who moved to Athens from New York January 2nd, 2017. It's almost a year ago to the day. Said he wanted to continue his punting career. Good choice, Georgia. Ended up in the Rose Bowl here. Sooners peel back to set up a return. Not a very good kick. It's a low one. It'll bounce way in front of Lamb and just stop right there. So Mayfield already white hot to start this game. Gets good field position as the Sooners go back to work up 10. Just a 30-yard punt. And welcome back to the Rose Bowl. Taco Bell student section there. Taco Bell's brought the best of the regular season to the college football playoff by creating the Live Moss student section. Today, picking up the tab for tickets for 500 students from each school at the Rose Bowl game. Presented by Northwestern Mutual, the All-State Sugar Bowl, and again at the National Championship game in Atlanta. So the Sooners back to work here. Chance to stretch the lead, mindful they will get the football to begin the second half, Kirk. So some urgency now for this Georgia defense. This is a big series. Touchdown, 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 and then a field goal for Oklahoma in their 4 possessions. Anderson back in the game, cuts it back. Another strong game, dragging people near midfield.
Think about what must be going through this Georgia defense's mind. I mean, coming into this game, they've only allowed touchdowns on 19 of the 153 drives that they've faced. That's 12%. And already 3 touchdowns in their first 4 drives.
2nd and 3. Mayfield, all kinds of time rolling, trying to create something on the fly. Cannot escape. Knocked down there by David Marshall, the defensive end. 2nd sack for the Dogs.
And that's a big-time play by David Marshall. But I'll tell you, the secondary deserves the assist. This is called plaster. Plaster means you have to stay on your receiver. Look in the background. Look at the receivers. Look at the defense staying with those wide receivers. Good job taking away any options that Baker Mayfield has downfield, and eventually Marshall gets to him.
Baker thought he was going to get away, and Marshall, a great job just grabbing him by the shoe. Sets up 3rd and 12.
And Lincoln Riley sees the coverage, makes the check from the sideline, and Baker Mayfield gets the call of the team.
This time all day to throw. Delivers over the middle. A catch made by Brown. Doesn't have first down yardage. Spun down at the 49 by J.R. Reed. And it's fourth down. So the Dogs do get a stop on the crucial series.
He has all day to throw this ball. Good job of giving him time. He worked to his second, to his third, to his fourth option until eventually he finds Brown. Give Georgia's defense credit for once again getting Oklahoma off the field.
They finally force a punt. The first by Seibert.
Once again, I mean, keeping him out of the end zone. Yeah. The last drive I felt like was a win. They held him to a field goal.
I get your point.
Yeah.
Seibert trying to pin Fromm and the Dogs deep. It's a long boot. Just gets up in the jet stream and lands at the 1 and perfectly bounces backwards. You cannot do it better than that. Out at the 2. Skill and maybe a little luck from the punter as well, huh?
Wow. That was beautiful. Not only the location, putting it in that corner, but the ball bounces back to the right. That is exceptional.
AT&T pylon cam gives you a view. The ball bounced at 4 feet from the end zone and then spun backwards.
How rare is it to see a punter / kicker being able to do both? You just don't see that anymore.
He takes great pride in doing all 3 kicks off as well. He's punted a lot fewer times than he's kicked off because OU's offense has been so productive. So now Fromm and the Dogs backed up. Chubb lined up 6 yards deep in the end zone. Takes the handoff and a quick burst. Chubb breaks free. Gets the edge. Nick Chubb rumbling. Turning out near midfield. Parnell Motley saved the touchdown. Georgia backed up no more.
Watch Kenneth Murray, the middle linebacker, take a wrong angle. He's going to follow this double team, but the linebacker in the middle takes the wrong angle. He busts a gap, and it allows Nick Chubb to be able to get right through there in a poor angle. Watch, Kenneth Murray takes the wrong angle, and there's another defender, Will Johnson, the safety coming down, takes a bad angle himself, and just like that, they're out of their own shadow, their own end zone.
Pressure and a sack on first down. Not fooled by the play action was the safety, Stephen Parker, who came flying in. That's the Sooners' first sack.
Charlie Warner just didn't see him, the tight end, 89. He's right here, and here's where he's going to sneak in and come in. Watch 89. He's kind of looking around. He's got to be able to kick to the outside along with Sonny Michel. Somebody's got to pick him up. I think Stephen Parker was the most surprised of anybody that he came free and was able to get to Jake Fromm.
We talked about Kenneth Murray, the true freshman, who plays fast and plays aggressive, but he's been out of position a couple times. Not just freshman quarterbacks, freshman middle linebackers under the gun today too. Fromm fires downfield. It's one of those back shoulder fades they throw so well, but that time Javon Wins could not beat the coverage of Trey Norwood.
Trey Norwood, very, very fortunate. We keep saying the word true freshman, the 2 words true freshman, and here's another one. Norwood 13. A little hesitation, a little stop and go by Wims, and you could see the freshman never even knew the football was thrown. He was fortunate with the ball underthrown, the receiver coming back. So a lot of times you'll see pass interference.
Boy, Fromm loves that throw, executes it perfectly, has thrown it thousands of times in his life, and has a real feel for that play with Wims. Probably see that again. 3rd and 17. Good protection. They flip it off short. Michel trying to escape, but he's going to be spun down at midfield, well short of the first down. That time Murray wrapped him up.
Not that Georgia's into moral victories, but considering where they were when they started this drive, they were starting at their own 2-yard line after that punt. You imagine if you have a 3 and out and you have to punt the ball from inside your own 2-yard line or inside your own 5-yard line. You're going to give the ball to Baker Mayfield probably in plus territory. So that big run, if nothing else, flips the field here and puts Oklahoma a little much deeper to start their drive.
Good point. Nislek, who had a 30-yarder the last time, boots it high, and he'll try to pin Oklahoma back. And the third catch made by Lamb at the 10-yard line. So 3:28 until halftime. Sooners trying to add to the lead.
Well, the leader of this team from Georgia's defense, Roquan Smith, we've just not called his name much at all tonight. You know, it's been a good mix of run and pass. When it's been run, you know, he's been picked up by linemen. When it's been pass, he's been lost in coverage at times. And I think he's the guy that's got to be able to get this defense going. He's got to start making plays. Much like Baker Mayfield provides the spark for Oklahoma, Roquan Smith has been that guy because he's made so many plays and the first Butkus winner that they've had in school history. Off to a little bit of a slow start.
113 tackles. He's a tackling machine. He's got 44 more than the next highest tackler on this defense.
I think he's still trying to feel this offense out and figure it out.
Sermon's in the game, and he's got the football, and he's got a crease. The freshman off and running. Gets a downfield block, barrels ahead, a physical finish to the run, and that fires up the OU sideline.
Well, this is two backs in the backfield. Rodney Anderson goes in motion and leaves Sermon back there. Look at the two linemen up front. This is the counter play that Oklahoma runs all the time. Ben Powers and Orlando Brown lead him around. They do a good job of getting a hat on a hat, and that's how you finish a run. Sermon, who's from the state of Georgia, runs right through DeAndre Baker.
31-yard gain. Great job spelling Rodney Anderson. He's back in there now to the right, and he's got the football, and he's stopped at the line of scrimmage.
And then last two plays, putting, again, a little bit of a change-up, putting both the backs back there together, Anderson and Sermon. And as it may not seem like a big deal, but when you're changing formations, it affects communication for the defense, of Roquan Smith and the linebackers. Now you see Sermon check out. You see a wide receiver, Michael Jones, check in. Constantly making this Georgia defense have to communicate and adjust to the looks that Baker Mayfield and the offense is giving them.
Three receivers to the right on 2nd and 9. Mayfield instead looks to the left and now scrambles across the middle, overshot Lamb, who was running free there. Remember what Kirby Smart told us? He said, look, we're very comfortable and confident that we can control the running game today, but if not, we're in trouble. It all starts with that, and they have not been able to control the running game.
No, not at all. It's been a very balanced attack, 182 yards. Mel Tucker trying to find some answers. To me, it starts with that defensive line and how they can try to win at the line of scrimmage. You got to give Oklahoma a lot of credit. That's a real strength of theirs all year. 5 returning linemen from last year up front. They know each other inside and out to go along with Baker Mayfield as a 3-year starter at quarterback.
Play clock winding down in this 3rd and 9 play. It's a screen. Brown in the clear. The sprinter cuts back. Hollywood Brown slips down inside the 15. They're lucky he didn't find the end zone. That guy's the fastest Sooner.
Yeah, kind of a mesh route. Watch the two receivers crossing each other underneath. And great block again by C.D. Lamb to give him more room to run.
Playing fast after the big play. Lamb, after making the block, makes the catch and is bumped out. Marquise Brown, man from Hollywood, Florida, not Hollywood, California. That's how he got the nickname when he got here to Oklahoma. Boy, you see why Georgia's coaches kept saying, number 5 just scares us to death.
Yeah, he can go by you for the deeper throw. He can catch a ball underneath on a 3rd down and make one guy miss and pick up another 30 or 40 yards. Incredible acceleration.
And the Sooners make it a 17-point lead before halftime. 2nd and 4. Anderson slips a tackle, fights through, and is going to be wrestled down right near the marker. They'll spot him just short. It'll be 3rd down.
You gotta love how Baker Mayfield near the end of that. Baker Mayfield at the end of that, trying to remember a new rule in college football. You can push the ball carrier. Usually you see linemen pushing the ball carrier. Not with Oklahoma. It's Baker Mayfield at the end. It's diving, pushing those big linemen, trying to pick up that 1st down, trying to fight for every inch.
Perhaps the sickness was overplayed a bit this week. He looks pretty healthy. Anderson in the game on 3rd down. It's a sneak, and Mayfield does move the sticks and sets up a 1st and goal as we enter the final minute of the first half. Sooners, Kirk, have moved it 88 yards in 7 plays. Again, they get the ball to start the second half, which makes Georgia here just desperate to keep out of the end zone here.
Remember in the Big 12 championship game, they did a good job of giving that physical look. They're going to go to the jumbo package now with some extra linemen big fullbacks coming in. They fooled TCU by going to this look and then kind of sneaking Mark Andrews behind a little bit of a play action look. They're going to go with this quick huddle, make it tough on the Georgia defense. They're hiding Brown.
And now Kirby Smart sneaks down the sidelines and spends a timeout on defense. Oklahoma not terribly urgent. They've got all 3 timeouts with 25 seconds before halftime.
That critical third down. Brown's here, he works across, but what I like is the setup of the 2 receivers and how they create kind of a traffic jam. Remember, they're going to just get the ball out quickly, but look at the Georgia defense. They're man-to-man, and Baker can't stay with Brown, and then it's just what he does naturally in the open field. But it was the execution on third down, recognizing that it's man-to-man, getting it to Brown quickly, and his defender, DeAndre Baker, just couldn't get over there because of the mesh route concept, meaning like a rub route or a pick. Great time to call that on a big third down against man-to-man.
Remarkable to see Brown in person. He was 145 pounds when he showed up from College of the Canyons, junior college. He bulked all the way up to 170. He said, yeah, that's too heavy. I dropped back to 165. There's not much to catch, though. Tackle this.
I was floored to see him in person at practice a couple of days ago, to see how productive and how dominating he can be. Look at his game he had against Oklahoma State in Stillwater. I mean, he looks like he's 160, 165 pounds.
Backup quarterback Kyler Murray, number 1, the former starter at A&M, is in the backfield just behind Baker. So do they have some trickery here?
Another
one. Kirby Smart right down there at the 5-yard line says, wait a second. Well, we didn't expect this look. Let's spend another one here.
We keep talking about how big this series is with Oklahoma getting the ball in the second half. Somebody else knows how big this series is, and he's using every timeout that he can to try to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Kyler Murray is a guy that has elite speed as a runner. Obviously can throw the ball very well. So who knows what Lincoln Riley had in mind there. Aerial coverage on this beautiful day provided by Goodyear, official sponsor of the Rose Bowl game, celebrating the determination and grit of today's players, fans, and coaches. That's blimp-worthy.
Kind of like in college basketball, in a critical possession, you see a team come out. The opposing team kind of gets a look. They call a timeout. They go in. Okay, they come back out. They get another look, call a timeout. That's really what we've had here in these first 2 timeouts. Now Georgia has been able to communicate, hey, if they come out in this formation, we're expecting this. Be ready to do this. If the quarterback Murray's back there, hey, guys, we're going to expect this. So this time he's not back out there.
Yeah, it's a much more conventional look. Murray not in the game. They got one more timeout to spend on defense if they want to. It's Flowers in the backfield. Penetration, and the Dogs come up with a huge play. That was Tyler Clark, who's had a nice first half, and it's now Oklahoma that's going to have to spend a timeout.
Rotating a lot of bodies up there. This is just quickness and slow off the ball by Oklahoma, just shooting a gap here. He has good quickness at 300 pounds, and they're rotating a lot of bodies. I'll tell you, Oklahoma, fortunate that the ball didn't come out. Look how quick Clark gets in there.
And that's a different sort of position for Dimitri Flowers. He's played tailback in his career, but not often do you see him lined up in that position. Did well to hold on to it. You're right.
I think earlier in his career he had to start against Iowa State because of some injuries, and he did pretty well, went over 100 yards. But this year he's kind of, he's playing H-back or a tight end, fullback type of thing.
Derby, the head coach, but he's very involved with everything defensive, trying to rally his guys. Ball back on the 6th, 2nd and goal. Sooners still have those 2 timeouts in 20 seconds.
This is what a defensive-minded head coach prides himself on. Critical moment in the game. You practice this over and over, good against good in summer and spring, and now you're out here at the Rose Bowl in the playoff. You got to be able to hold your own down here.
And Kyler Murray, Kirk, the backup quarterback, in the game again, just to the left of Mayfield. Cadet comes in motion. Pop pass. Can he get the edge? No, he is driven back. That's Smith, a high-impact tackle at the 3-yard line. Roquan says, that's the kind of hit I've been waiting all half to make. Well, it's 3rd down.
He took out an entire first half of frustration with this hit right here. They use it as a decoy. Murray and Baker go to the left, but right there, what a hit. Good team pursuit. Smith cleans it up. Perfect form tackle. I'll tell you, Badet lucky to hold on to that football.
And you could hear it. Cadet we mentioned comes from Kentucky, graduated there, transferred here for 1 season. Knows all about this defense. And the urgency, Kirk, and we knew Georgia had to feel down 10. Mayfield and company getting the ball to start the 3rd quarter. They've made a stand here from 1st and goal at the 2.
Be really surprised if Lincoln Riley doesn't try to find the matchup with either Flowers or Andrews down in this area. They've got Flowers lined up as that tailback spot, and they go with their jumbo package with the extra tight ends and fullbacks.
It's Lamb to the left, single formation, and Jordan Smallwood to the right, also getting man coverage. 3rd and goal. It's a reverse. Lamb throws it to the quarterback, and Mayfield catches a touchdown pass. And goes sprinting down the field. Trickery from Riley, and the Sooners stretch the lead.
Well, that put the Georgia defense in a bind. They knew that after the sweep and the handoff that the ball's probably going to try to come back to Baker Mayfield, and Roquan Smith actually was out there with him, DeAndre Baker, but at some point you got to go try to tackle Lamb, who's about to run into the end zone.
So a 17-point lead. Lamb back to Mayfield.
Yeah, Lamb's going to come here. Once Baker makes a sweep and he goes out here, watch Roquan Smith. He reads it. He instinctively feels, okay, I got to get out there. I got to get out there. But right here, both these defenders are in trouble. Either make the tackle or stay back. They decide to try to go make the tackle, and there's nobody left for Baker Mayfield.
And C.D. Lamb sold it well. Didn't flip the ball to his right hand until it was very near the line.
Right now, he's thinking, I'm going to run. And then once they commit, then he just said, okay, you're just going to give it to me. I'll take it. He did a really good job of making that defense respect it. He's accelerating right there at the 7-yard line. You better come up, otherwise he's just going to walk into the end zone. Really, it was an either-or situation. The Georgia defense just in a real bind there. Look at
not the prettiest throw, but he'll take it. Lamb has been active. He's been targeted 7 times, had some drops, but he's made 3 catches and now throws his first career touchdown pass. So Lincoln Riley, who does call the plays for this offense, that cat and mouse game, all those timeouts, the different looks from the Sooners, give that one to Riley and the Sooners. Yeah, they just booted along the ground here.
It, but
that's
Georgia got a chance here, maybe.
Absolutely ineffective. I don't know what they're thinking there. This is in the pregame warm-up here. A couple of moves from the quarterback. Is he practicing his receiving skills? Wasn't quite the same route.
You know, with him, you just never know. You know, if he's just messing around or working on maybe catching a ball later in the game.
Meanwhile, this squib kick has given Georgia a chance now. The Oklahoma end to throw it in the end zone. Perhaps take one shot down there, and they have a timeout to spare if they want to try to set up a field goal.
Well, if they obviously it'd have to be a really quick throw with 5 seconds to go. Have that one timeout.
They need to try to get about 17 yards to give Blankenship a decent shot.
And Georgia's putting in some of their receivers. Looks like actually Mark Andrews is back. C.D. Lamb is back. Oklahoma's putting in a lot of their kind of almost like a hands team back deep to try to knock down a Hail Mary.
Fromm rolls out. They do fire it short, and the catch is made. No out of bounds, and now they'll have to try to spend a timeout. Smart sprinting down there. Godwin couldn't get out. 1 second to go.
Yeah, Kirby Smart was calling a timeout while the ball was in the air. I mean, he's yelling timeout, 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 knowing that in case he didn't get out of bounds or pick up a first down to stop the clock, somebody's going to make sure that I want this clock stopped. So that squib kick with 6 seconds to go.
Yeah, that backfired badly. No long field goal attempt. This is just out of Blankenship's range. I check it. He is in the game. They're going to try this from 55.
I asked Kevin Butler, who works with the kickers here, who is obviously a legendary kicker for the Georgia program, I asked him how far he could get out. He said, he made one from 54 going this direction in warm-up, so he's got a shot.
We know Kevin Butler could make it from this distance, but he was a Georgia All-American, Hall of Fame kicker who's a student assistant for the second season working with Blankenship and the Kickers. So 55 yards for Hot Rod. This would be a new career long to chip away at the lead before halftime. And now it's Oklahoma that's going to spend a timeout just to make sure that they're ready for a potential fake here. Wow. All the questions coming in. How would this high-powered Oklahoma offense, fast and furious, deal with all the speed of that SEC defense? And Mayfield and the Sooners touchdowns their first 3 possessions. The Dogs defense began to get some traction as the half went on, but that touchdown a moment ago puts Georgia in a 17-point hole.
The last thing you want to do against Baker Mayfield is give them a fast start, because when you play catch-up, not only is it tough to do, it goes against really what your strength is as a team. Georgia wants to control the clock. They want to comfortably run the ball. Jim Chaney telling us, if we could be 60-40 run to pass, and kind of who we've been, that's our identity all year, that would be ideal for us. But now, with this hole that they've created for themselves, it's a totally different way of approaching the game as they go into the second half. These 3 points are critical. This would be huge going in at halftime for Georgia.
Blankenship just missed earlier from 48. This by far the longest of his career. Steps into it and drives it. Wow, Hot Rod comes up with 3. That's a Rose Bowl record. And Oklahoma made to pay for that squib kick just before halftime.
Good job by Georgia not throwing the Hail Mary with 5 seconds, trying to pick up the yards to at least give them a shot, and it pays off with a great kick.
What Kevin Butler told you was exactly right. That was about his range.
Yeah.
Hot Rod comes through. Cut the lead to 14. Time now for AT&T Field Pass to Tom Rinaldi is with Coach Riley.
Chris, thank you very much. Lincoln, know you're up 14. What was the strategy there on the squib?
Just try not to kick it and hit somebody. He just hit a bad kick. So we wanted to squib it down there, not give him a chance for a return. We just didn't execute very well.
Your message to your team here up as you head into the second half and try to close it out?
No, it's going to be a 4-quarter game. We knew that coming in. That's what we expected. We did a lot of things good the first half, but we also have a lot of things that we need to do better.
Lincoln, appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Maria.
All right, Kirby, coming into this game, we knew Oklahoma led the nation in total offense. Describe what you've seen from your defense in the first half.
Poor performance on our part as coaches. We didn't have these guys ready to play right now. The good news is we can still make some adjustments, come back, fight. Offense is keeping us in the game. We just got to tackle better, got to stop the run, try to make them one-dimensional.
All right, we know Oklahoma gets the ball coming back out for the second half. What has been the message to the team, and what are you going to echo in the locker room?
Settle down and go play. Our guys playing a little nervous. They got to go out and play and relax, and got to get after the quarterback.
All right, thanks for your time.
As Sooners scoring 5 of 6 possessions, no turnovers and no penalties. 651 combined yards in a wild first half as the Heisman Trophy winner has Oklahoma up by 14. End of the first half in Pasadena. Back to the studio after these messages. You're watching the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual on ESPN. The playoff semifinal, Rose Bowl number 104 of the granddaddy of them all. Touchdown! The Sooners strike quickly. The Dogs answer. Anderson headed for the end zone. Mayfield catches a touchdown pass. And welcome back. Set for the second half, the college football playoff semifinal at the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual. A dizzying first half of the offenses. 6 touchdowns, a couple of field goals. The Sooners having their way. The Dogs offensively almost on a 600-yard pace, but only ran 28 plays. They were only 1 of 5 on third down, so couldn't extend drives and play keep away from Mayfield.
Yeah, the third downs hurt them, and I think getting behind really affected how Jim Chaney wanted to try to attack. He told us last night, we talked about, what are you going to do? How are you going to try to attack? He said, to be quite honest, how we defend Baker Mayfield will dictate what we're going to do offensively. But I don't think there needs to be erratic changes as they start this second half. Remember, the defense has to come out and try to get a stop. Try to stop the bleeding, so to speak, to be able to get the ball back to Jake Fromm. But I don't think you scrap the playbook and what the plan has been, yet at least at this point, only down 14. That field goal at the end of the half was big for them to cut it to 2 touchdowns.
Now, Kirby Smart's label for his defensive performance in the first half was poor. So no doubt an animated conversation with that group in the locker room here.
But he also looked in the mirror. He really said it was on us, the coaches. He really wasn't pointing the finger at the players. He was talking about how we did a poor job of putting him in position to make plays, so we'll see what his adjustments are. Remember, that's something that he and Nick Saban had a great reputation for when he was in Tuscaloosa, second half adjustments.
Hot rod